going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Rugby Show. I'm joined again with the Rugby Guru, and today we're going to be talking about another really interesting question. Now, I do want to say, me and the Rugby Guru are going to literally just answer this question straight away, but we are going to try and take into account other people's opinions, because I know it is a big issue over here in the UK. And the question is rugby too violent? Now, we would actually probably say, as rugby fans ourselves, no, it's not. But we're going to try and hear out other people's reasons. I've done a bit of research and stuff on it. So, yeah, we're just going to basically get into it. So, hello, Rugby Guru. Hopefully you're okay. And, yeah, so let's just basically get into this whole topic. Would you say, is that why it's not as big as football/soccer, rugby as a sport? Is it too violent for people? Is that what puts them off?
Yeah, look, I've got a little son here at home that's trying to learn rugby, and well, I'm trying to push him to really go into rugby. I can see he's a little bit scared to actually play the game. So, as far as I'm concerned, me self-playing, it's not too violent, but I do get the point that for some, it might seem a lot more violent than it actually is.
Yeah, because going back again, like you said, you had a kid. I know a lot of people are like mothers and fathers and stuff, and they've got their kids in school. So would you say maybe there should be like a restriction for school or a certain age, would you say?
Yeah, look, when I was a kid, I was quite big. I was bigger than your normal kid would be, and I mean, I had a ball with a guy that was a lot smaller than me. I used to go out to actually go and hurt them. So I would imagine that it's still the same today. What I would prefer is maybe do in a weigh-in for certain levels of weight. Not so much age restriction, but rather on weight.
All right, okay. So like, say I don't know if it's called this in South Africa, but primary school. Is that a term used down there?
Yeah, it's also primary school.
Yeah. Just because obviously they have different ones all around the world, so I didn't know if that was used down there. So would you say it should be played in primary school, or would you say it's more of a thing that would go up to high school?
Yeah, look, I would probably say up until, let's say, under 15, I would do the weight class, different weight classes. I mean, like I said, I used to be a really big child, and then you would get a guy that's a lot smaller, and it could potentially be a lot more harmful for the smaller guy.
Yeah.
So I would say to up until under 15s, maybe do a weight class thing.
All right, okay. So what's your opinion on the whole, is it touch rugby or tag rugby? We call it up here, but it's also known as touch rugby. Would you say that should be more of a thing being used in the younger ages, maybe like, say, 5 to 10? Or again, would you just stick with your weighing stuff?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic to bring up. Look, I also used to play a lot of touch rugby or tag rugby, as you would call it. I mean, it's the closest you'll get to actually play rugby, but I feel that it does take away quite a big part of what rugby really is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would rather stick to the weight classes then.
All right, okay. So then another point we want to bring up then, going back to the whole thing, is it too dangerous? Is that why it's impacting the sport itself? Like, is that why football's bigger? Do you reckon another point is the rules are too confusing? Do you reckon that is something that is affecting rugby as a sport? Do you reckon that's why soccer is so much more like populated rather than rugby itself?
Yeah, just like the rules for me at the moment is actually quite clear.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people still don't understand, but I mean they're really doing effort to make rugby safer. I mean, if you just look at it in the last 10 years, how the rules have changed on safety, especially in the tackle areas and in the scrum areas and also the ruck areas. And then I would say rugby has done a lot to actually make the game safer.
Yeah. So then, do you reckon concussion? Because obviously that is a big thing in rugby itself. Do you reckon that's why people are saying rugby is too violent? Or would you say that's just something that comes with the sport in general? I mean, me personally, I think it's something that can't really be avoided in a contact sport, just like boxing and stuff. Because obviously I do boxing myself, only training. But again, if I was to do professional boxing, it's something you've got to expect. I mean, it's something that is surely got to be expected in rugby itself as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's concussion is in all sports basically, but I mean there is ways to try and prevent it, but to actually ask every rugby player to wear headgear to support that, I don't know if they can maybe bring that in, but it will look a little bit weird on the pitch
Yeah, it
at
would. Yeah,
first.
yeah,
But I mean they're using in the NFL, everybody's wearing a helmet, so.
yeah.
It's just basically to get actually used to it. But I mean that's one way to maybe help prevent it. But on the end of the day, I know I've actually got my first concussion ever last year playing. So, and it's not a nice feeling to have. You're dizzy and you get headaches for say 2-3 weeks after contact. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they can actually do more to prevent concussion. I know they've got the concussion tests and everything, but when it's happened, it's happened. You can't bring that back.
Yeah, because that brings us on to our next point then. Would we introduce more padding? Maybe, again, like I said, if this is putting people off saying it is too violent, maybe more padding should be introduced, but then it's really speaking, what padding do you use within reason? Because obviously, again, with NFL, they have helmets. You can't really have a helmet when it comes to rugby, and then the scrum cap isn't actually scientifically proved that it will stop concussion. So what would you say is the next move?
Yeah, that's why I say really there's no real prevention measurement to bring into rugby for the concussions. At the end of the day, I might sound a bit how can I put it? Yeah, I can't get to the word now, but I mean at the end of the day, it's a choice whether you want to play the game or not. So if if you're not going to be able to take the knocks, then you should rather not maybe play rugby.
Yeah, again, it's like with boxing. I mean, if I was to take up boxing, and unless I made it professional, I'd be wearing a head guard. And even with a head guard, I'm pretty sure a lot of damage can be done. So like you said, it is a choice. I mean, if it's a contact sport, it's something that's going to happen. It's inevitable. I mean, like, if it's like me turning around and saying, I don't want a broken nose if I'm going to do boxing. But it's inevitable. It's going to happen. You're going to get a broken nose if somebody punches you. Yeah. So, I mean...
Exactly my point there.
Yeah. So, going back to the
I
whole...
mean,
No, you carry on. Go on.
yeah, it's like I said. I mean, if you want to play the game, then you must be willing to take the knocks. And I mean, like I say, there's no prevention that you can actually bring in for certain stuff. We don't want to make it a game where people is going to make a funny thing out of it. You understand my point?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. So another point then I want to bring up is obviously we're going back to the whole thing, is that why not as many people want to play it as football. Would you say, again, going back, if the rules are too confusing, should there be new rules to make it more simplified? I mean, obviously with Rugby Sevens, it's basically a simplified rugby union, the 15 games obviously, because to kicking over the posts, you don't put it on a kicking tee. Obviously scrums are uncontested, I think. Line outs are more simplified. So would you say new rules should be introduced, or would you say it should be basically the same and nothing should be changed?
Yeah, look, I personally feel they've made too many new rules for rugby. They've already taken away such a big part of what rugby used to be, and turn it into something that it's not anymore. So to bring in new rules now will I think would make rugby even more boring than it sometimes already is.
Yeah. Because I've noticed there seems to be certain rules that they brought in aren't actually enforced. It's like when the referee never used to say use it. Remember, you used to be able to keep the ball in the ruck as long as you wanted to, within reason. And then they introduced a new rule saying that once the referee says use it, you only actually have 3 seconds to kick it. Or use it, or do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
But they don't enforce it. Have you noticed that? They'll say use it, and you can at least hold
Yeah,
on to
no.
it for about 10 seconds before you do anything.
Yeah, I've noticed it a lot in Super Rugby. Like I said, I've been following almost every game.
Yeah.
And in every single game, you get the scrum off that needs to use the ball, and they prolong it as long as they can. So it goes up to 10 seconds, like you say. So maybe it's time for the referees to enforce the rules better
Yeah.
than they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, because I think it's really slowing down the game, and I do feel like as a watcher of rugby, it is a bit less entertaining when you're seeing that. It's the same as the scrum. I do feel like after a few attempts of the scrum, like for example, say it's your penalty, you choose to go for the scrum, and say the opposing team goes down, and you keep picking to go for the scrum, and they keep going down. I do feel like there should be a limit on the amount of times you can keep picking to go for the scrum if it's not working. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, not really. It's part of a strategy that you use. I know Richie McCaw mentioned something the other day that you should put a time clock on scrums.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teams use it to slow or to waste a lot of time. So for every scrum, they just basically stop the clock, and then you go on after the scrum moves on, which
Yeah.
I think would be really good for rugby.
Yeah, again, that would work a lot better because, like, my whole point was if it keeps happening, it's slowing the game down. I've seen a scrum thing go on before for like 10 minutes because it kept happening and happening, and then in the end, the referee blew the whistle and gave a penalty to the opposing team. It was the Ospreys versus Leinster in a final back in like 2012, and I was like, surely that can't keep happening. I mean, like eating away 10 minutes of a game just as a scrum. Like I said, from a viewing point of view, I think it's not really something that should be allowed to happen.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I mean, in my club team, I was captain in one game last year, and I actually used that tactics to slow the game down because I think it was the second or third game of the season, and we're still very unfit at that time. So I basically told the guys to slow the game down by resetting the scrum the whole time.
Oh, okay.
So I think that is also one of the things that the teams use, and that's why it's so important that there should be a time clock on that as well.
Yeah, because at least then, if the clock is stopped, I mean, it's not going to eat away at the game itself. And then if you are, like, say, if it's only a 2-point lead and you are trying to go for a scrum 5 meters away from the try line, at least then the clock would be stopped and give you time in order to attack, rather than the clock keep dying and dying and then a penalty given away.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they will implement it, but I think it's something that they should really look at.
Yeah. Okay, so another thing then, going back to the whole question itself, because I do feel like we both went off topic then, we could talk about loads of stuff. Going back to if rugby is too violent, I mean, there are a lot of injuries and lifelong effects of rugby itself. I know Jonathan Davis, a Welsh legend, he doesn't play anymore. It's not the current Jonathan Davis, it's the one that you see as a pundit. Do you know what I'm on about, yeah?
Yeah, no, I just know the one that is actually still playing.
Oh, right, okay. There's another one that played, I think it's either the 80s or the 90s. And, I mean, he's perfectly fine now, but I do know he suffers quite badly from arthritis, because obviously the more knocks you get, it does have a massive impact. It's the same as Sam Warburton. Obviously, he retired at an early age. I think he was only 28 in the end, or maybe early 30s, I'm not too sure. And he retired again because he felt like he was going on a trampoline or playing with his kids, and he was aching a lot after it, and he felt like that's not something he wants to carry on doing if it's going to impact his family life. So, I mean, at a point, I mean, rugby is a bit violent, but again, it's like we said, it's something you've got to sign up for if you want to play it. Would you say?
Yeah, that's true. Look, rugby is very violent. I don't want to disagree and say rugby's not violent, because it doesn't take a lot to see that it actually is one of the most violent sports out there. But at the end of the day, it's a choice that you make, and there's no real way to really make it any safer at the moment, unless they come up with some brilliant idea that I don't know of.
Yeah. Okay, and then on to our final point before we finish the video. Should there be new banning rules? So, for example, if a player was to lash out and punch, let's say, punch you in the face, right, and he gives you a black eye, broken nose and stuff. I mean, if he was only getting, like, say, he obviously got a red card straight away and he's banned for 3 games, do you reckon that should be a longer ban, or do you think it's fine as it is?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of debate around that, and I mean, if you punch somebody, it's a straight red card, and the ban is not, I don't think it's just 3 weeks, it's up to 6 to 12 weeks.
Oh, right, okay.
If I'm correct.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so I think that is quite a good punishment, but then again, it doesn't get implemented everywhere. At international level and your professional clubs and so forth, they can actually look at that. But when you move away and you move more to, let's take again example, my club. I mean, we still fight in our games and nothing really happens to us because there's no cameras that's going to see us do it or something like that. And that might also prevent people from actually taking interest in rugby. Say, for instance, a kid from 18 years or so joins amateur club and he gets knocked down in his first game and nothing happens to the next guy, he'll probably stop playing rugby altogether.
Yeah, because I know I had a friend in school and he was never really into rugby, and then everybody was saying, oh yeah, you should get into rugby, you're quite tough, like, and he played his first game and he broke his leg and he never played rugby again. So again, I think it's just something you have to expect going into rugby, because it is just a violent game in general, whether it is fighting or not. Unless you're playing professional, there's not really anything that can be done about that, because it's human on human, it's just what happens.
Yeah, it's like any other sport that you play. You need to love the game to actually play the game.
Yeah. Okay, there we are then. Okay, I think I'll leave it there as a video because we've discussed quite a few good points. So to answer the question, is rugby too violent? I'm still going to say no, it's not. I think it's perfectly fine the way it is. What about you?
Yeah, no, look, for myself, I'm still playing today, and I'm not playing professionally, so I'm really playing in a very violent atmosphere, but I won't say it's that violent. So for me, it's not violent. For other people, it might be violent.
Yeah. How long have you been playing for, as well, by the way?
Well, look, I've been playing since school, so I did take a break for about 4 years, and I'm only back now again. So yeah, I did take quite a bit of a break.
Oh, okay. And as of right now, have you got any health issues from rugby? Has it impacted you at all? Out of curiosity, to answer the question.
Look, yeah, my shoulder is a little bit sore. Sometimes it's something that I don't have a medical aid, so I couldn't have gone to the doctors and fix it. So I got a little niggle on my shoulder, and then I tore a ACL last year. But I mean, it's fine now, and it's rehab, and I'm ready to go actually.
Oh, okay. There we go then. So yeah, it's basically what the two of us think. We don't think rugby is violent at all. I mean, this is a rugby channel, so, I mean, you could have expected that we were going to say that. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the video there, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. I feel like this has probably been one of our best videos to do. I mean, it's been such an interesting topic to cover. With the Rugby Guru being a dad as well, I felt like it was a lot better to talk about. But yeah, hopefully you did enjoy. Please make sure you go ahead and leave a like down below to show your support. And like I said, every single video, let me know in the comment section if there's any questions you want us to answer. We'll try and cover them as soon as we can. And like I said, this is a series, so this will be up all the time basically, so leave a question down below. We'll love to answer it for you. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe as well. We do rugby videos all the time, every single week, guaranteed. And I don't know if this is going to be every single week guaranteed, but we are going to be trying to make as many videos of these as we can, just because we love talking about rugby and you guys love it as well. So yeah, stay tuned for more. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Andrew, he's been the Rugby Guru. We'll see you in another episode. Peace out, guys.